I'm Georgia Pieper. I attend Uray High School, and for my internship this past summer, I went to the Hawaii Institute of Marine Biology. So the Hawaii Institute of Marine Biology is located on Coconut Island, also known as Moku'alohe, and our lab was kind of right over here. My house was right about here. They had some shark ponds, and I'll tell you guys more about that later, but that was very cool to see. And then the coral nursery is here, and you take a boat. A shuttle boat goes about every hour to the main island, and this is on the windward coast of Oahu. During my first week here, I mainly worked in the lab, which is the Toba lab, and I worked with master students Leah Shizuru and Ann Lee. And the main thing we did there during this first week, I kind of got to know my way around the lab and did DNA extractions. The first part, I kind of had to do pipetting for a while. At first, it was a little meticulous to get used to it, but after a while, it became easy and pretty fun. So the first step is you have to make a gel for the gel electrophoresis. And then, so actually, the first part of the DNA extractions is you put, so we did it for black coral and soldierfish, and then you put these in a buffer, and that breaks down some of the proteins, and then we left those to incubate for a while. And then next, we performed PCR in a thermocycler. And then after that, we did gel electrophoresis, and we apply, so we put I have a slide here. This is just kind of the gel electrophoresis process. You put the DNA samples in the tubes where you put, and the electric current pulls them through. The following 4 or 5 weeks while I was there, we mainly worked in the coral nursery, and I worked with another intern. She was in her first year of college during this time, and a lot of the work we did was we worked with these 3 species of coral, Montipora capitata, Poeciloporus demicornis, and Poeciloporus meandrina. And so we collected the first 2 coral species just in this Kaneohe Bay here, but for the last species of coral, we had to go out to another reef to collect these. So we would collect them, and then we would work in this, it was kind of like a dock area. So we would swim around in here and place all the corals. A lot of other corals from previous experiments were also in here. And then we put them in these little tubes from the lab with fishing weights, and we epoxied them. It's kind of like cement, so they would stay, and then we had to keep them there for a while until we could use them for our flow experiment. And this was the shed we worked in, very small, but homey, and I miss it a lot. This was our flow experiment. So we had 12 different tanks, and then we had actually 180 fragments of coral altogether. And so we, with our 5 different variables, see how they would grow over time with the different levels of flow. We hypothesized that the meandrina species of coral, which is this one right here, would do the best in the highest level of flow because that's how they are naturally. But it turns out that was not really the case. Because we're putting these corals under so much stress, it was really hard for them to survive. But I got a picture a few weeks ago from Miranda. They're still doing really well, and I'm excited to see what happens with these. The collection, this is just some of the collection process, how we collected these 3 different species of coral. That was really fun. We got to do that with Miranda, and one of my favorite parts of the internship. During my free time, some of the time, I lived in a house, or like a dorm, with several other master's students. This is Luella, and every night they were very busy. They had to do PAMMing, and that measures the photosynthetic efficiency of the corals, and that could be very helpful in heat-inhibited experiments. So we were seeing how well they were doing. And then over there, that's my friend Mari, and she was collecting spawning. So they had to do that at night. they spawn at night, and you have to use red light because the corals are very. If you use too bright, they won't spawn. And this is some of the egg bundles, and we had to count all of these. Some really cool things I saw while I was there. The first day, we saw this dead porcupine or pufferfish just kind of walking around the island, and it was really cool to see. There's lots of these, the Kaneohe Bay is filled with these conspicuous cucumbers, and then this nudibranch, previous intern Alana Wister, they actually had the problem of these nudibranches were eating all their coral in their coral experiments. But then we had a bunch of baby hammerhead sharks. They were super cute, and then we also had full-size hammerhead and a sandbar shark in the pond, which was pretty close to where we lived. And there were geckos and all sorts of crazy cockroaches and things to see. Also during some free time, every week we would we would take the mass and the weight of our corals in our coral experiment, but when we had free time and we weren't doing that, we would help out some other PhD students or master's students there. One of our PhD the students there was Julie Zill, and she was actually working with eels, and so we made like an eel trap. So that was pretty cool. We got to catch the eel. It was a little scary, but still fun. During my free time, I spent a lot of time with my housemates and the people I met in the lab. It was super cool. I recommend if you do an internship, make as many friends as you can. I'm still in contact with many of them, and so nice, many nice people. We would go. This was one of our favorite beaches to go to. This was called Lanikai Beach, and we went there quite a bit when we could. It's a little hard to get our transportation on the island. I have to take a bus, but it was really fun. And then here's just some more pictures. One of my favorite stories, the first week I was there, we went to this restaurant called Opal Thai, and you actually don't order any food. He just kind of comes up to you and asks you if you've ever eaten any Thai food before, and he'll make you what he thinks you will like. And that was really cool. It was really good, really spicy. I recommend it. These were just some friends I made. We went hiking quite a bit, saw some really cool waterfalls, and ate some really good food too. Thank you.